It takes a special breed to be a truck driving man, and a steady hand to pull that load behind.
Whoa, headed out to the repaired pay dirt box this morning. I approach with extreme caution. Check for any county snowplow equipment that might be coming. Okay, looks clear. Let's make a run for it. If I don't fall on my butt. She looks good out here. Looks like a target. Okay. Let's hope a big bat grader or snowplow don't come by and ruin all this pay dirt stuff going out to my awesome friends all over the world. This is a 325 1693. I got, I don't know, probably been 10 years ago. It was in a K100 cab over Kenworth. This is a 65B 10,000 serial number. I don't remember what year the truck was. Old Kenny was 17,000 serial number. But we took the head off of it and we used the head. So when I got the truck, the head was, somebody had lifted the head up off the deck, set it back on. There was no camshafts in it. And so she's been laying outside, but it's got the remains of a paper shim gasket where the spacer plate was, which tells me she's probably never been apart. They quit using that space or that paper gasket. Jeez Louise, I'm gonna have to say back in the early 80s, somewhere in there. But I can't see anywhere on the block here stamped that it's ever been milled. I don't think the engine's ever been out of the truck. This engine, the truck that it was in, they used it over at the Harris of Idaho feedlot. Kevin Coles drove this. Kevin, you know what it is. Anyway, so gonna tear it down, and there was no water came out of the pan. We had a tarp over it. So I need the crankshaft probably, I need the block, and I need some of those idler shafts in the back of the housing, and then we should be in good shape. So away we go. Okay, this is the rear mainsail on a 1693 without the retarder. And you can see there's no stator cover for the retarder. This carrier right here is exactly the same one that a D343 and the scrapers use. And then the seal is inside here. So you can unbolt this and that'll take the seal out. You can press the new seal in, then put it over the crank. This style does not have a wear sleeve. You cannot take the one that uses a wear sleeve and install it on there. It's too big around. It'll destroy the seal and distort it. But you can basically unbolt that carrier, buy the new seal, and then the new seal comes with a cast iron ring that goes around and holds the seal in tight. And we have changed two of the scrapers up to that type of seal. Now if you do that in a 343, you've got to take the outside ring that holds that newer type seal in, one piece seal, and you got to go to the machine shop, and I probably got it wrote down somewhere, but I think you got to cut about 100 thousandths off the face of that. If you don't, bolts stick out too far, and when you go to put the flywheel on and bolt it down, it'll lock the motor up. Trust me, I've done it. Okay, this is the carrier in the 325. And so this is a cast piece, and you drive the seal in, and then you can bolt it on, and there's a gasket that fits here. Now, on the scrapers, we update to this seal because it's the only one that has a wear sleeve. 9 Nancy 3134. I've put a 9 Nancy 3776 on there. But you cannot use that wear sleeve and use the other type seal. It'll only work with this seal right here. If you want to use it in a D343, you have to take this cast iron piece that holds it down, and you have to take about 100 thousandths off of it. It's quite thick. You have to also bolt that to the seal and then tape the seal off to keep any grindings out. And then you have to go over to the grinder, and there's a lip that comes out, and it comes clear out here to the outside of this cast piece. And I also think you also have to take a bunch off the outside diameter of this to get it to fit in the bore, but that's how it works. Now on the front, they generally didn't come with a wear sleeve. This one right here, okay, it is showing the seal and the sleeve. Now, you cannot use this sleeve unless you take that front cover that goes over this, take it to the machine shop and have them bore out the inside of it. That sleeve will not go in there because of the small diameter of the bore inside there. Okay, this is the seal setup for one with a brake saver. And so you don't need a wear sleeve or anything. So this carrier pushes on to the back of the crankshaft. This is where the seal would normally run. That is a brass piston ring seal, and it seals against that carrier right there. Then right here in this groove is an O-ring, and when the stator rotor bolts up against that, it's going to seal here, and that stator comes out and it matches all the holes in here, and that's what the flywheel is going to bolt through. The bolts are going to go through the flywheel, through the rotor, and into the crankshaft and bolt that all together. And then you're going to have a seal on the outside where the retarder is. So there's your brake saver, and this is back where the flywheel is going to bolt onto here, and there's the lip type seal that goes in there. And it also runs on a replaceable carrier. That's a big, thick, hardened piece of steel. So on a retarder model, they still use that lip type seal. I would really like to find a hydrodynamic seal that would fit that, but I think my chances of that are slim to none. So Jake's been out here all morning tearing all the accessories off this engine. Has got the old paper shim gasket on it. For those of you that are old like me, you remember these. I don't think this engine had ever been out of that truck in its entire life. The delivery date on it was 10/10 of 73. This came out of a K100 Kenworth. Non-aftercooled, it was only rated at 325 horse. These run 2300 RPM, scraper engines, D343s. Like 2195, about 100 RPM less. Fuel setting is 0.065. That's for Bob Wallen. He's got a 325 that I think he's cranking up. For an example, the Filthy Whore, when we overhauled it, was set at 170. We cut it back to 140 because it was such a powerhouse at 170. It liked to burn up manifolds. So next step is I'm tearing this rear housing off. We got to get it tipped up on its top, get a porta power, and get this front hub off. That's a tapered crank. Then we can lift the crankshaft out and see if it's any good. And then the other thing about a 1693 without a retarder, Jake's taking it off, but there's a spacer that goes on here, and you've got to install that spacer or you're going to have problems. Anyway, that's the compressor drive right there. Scrapers do not use that type of setup. The scrapers, compressors have a splined shaft, and then there's a big gear assembly on bearings on both ends, and that spline shaft goes inside there, and that's how they operate. So okay, this housing has never been off. you can see the machine marks in this plate. It's never been roll-locked, ground on. This shaft is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So, right now I'm trying to get the compressor drive gear off. So that'll be a piece of cake. These will be a piece of cake. Lube line, piece of cake. That gear, yeah, I think I'm screwed. All right, I got her laying on its side on a block. I got the pan off. I did get number one piston out, but there's the crank. She's blue, so I don't know what happened. Guess that since that's the bearing farthest away from the pump and the supply, it's the one that got 8, but I don't really see, it don't feel good on the crank there. So this is what the inside of a 1693 looks like that has never been in a chemical cleaning solution. The insides are painted this brown color. And this is the oil pump on a 1693. So on a D343, this section here is the scavenge pump. And how that works is down through here is a tube. There's a bunch of holes in the block. You can see them right there. So this tube goes all the way up there, and then that round hole by the pan rail is where it drops in, and there's a separate piece that goes over the front. There's a big plate that goes on, then the sump, and all the oil that drops down there, like if your snoot was tipped, puddles in there, and then the suction would suck it back up through here and then dump it back inside the pan. So on a 343, you got a whole nother section back here, which is the main pump section, and then it goes up here, and then this is your main supply galley on this end. So the scavenge section in a 343 is the same size as the main pump section in a 1693. So my plan is to get a 343 pump and put it in here and just take the gears out of the scavenge section so that it can't, there's nothing in there that would seize up or have a problem. The gears are the same size, same number of teeth, or same diameter, same number of teeth. The only difference is in the main section, they're quite a bit longer, so you get a little more volume. And I think with a retarder, you need that extra volume. I think it would make a huge difference. So I'm going to get the pump off, and then we'll see if I can get some more pistons out. I've ground inside the liners and cleaned the rust up. I need to get them out so that I can turn this gear to get to the bolts and get them out and remove that. So here's a rod bearing out of that 3 1/4 1693. But my question is, has anybody ever seen a bearing like this? Got the cat number 3SAM3285, but it says Great Britain, and then those two symbols there, the G and the square, and looks like an N with a circle, and then this alphabet soup, MMUUKM. Okay, so Alan Doll 510 on Instagram gave me the secret decoder ring formula for the cat date code on the bearing. You remember it was MMUUKM. So M is 2, so it was 22 of November 11 of 72. So 0 is N, 1 is U, 2 is M, 3 is E, 4 is R, 5A, 6L, 7K, 8 is O, and 9 is D. I don't understand that, how in the world they came up with that, but they did. All right, I've got my life insurance paid up. It's current. So you remember this procedure on old Kenny's block last year? You ready? Hit it. I don't know if I'd stand there though. Woohoo!
Are you?
It was a perfect landing. 10. Jeff wins. Yep, gonna use cardboard again to catch it when it pops off. I just didn't have, I need to modify that tooling a little bit so I can retain that on there so that when it pops, but this setup doesn't work like that yet. So, but anyway, let's see how it happens. This is the part I don't like. I don't like it. Whew, piece of cake. Holy moly, total piece of cake. Can't beat that. All right, this is the front cover, and this is the wear sleeve that's going to go on the later serial numbers. So the early serial number ones, the housing's not bored out big enough for that to pass through. So what you got to do is measure the front of the crank and then measure this bore and figure out how much clearance you have. Then take this to the machine shop. Tell them you need this sleeve to be able to pass through, and then how much clearance you need between that sleeve to be able to pass through. The later serial number ones that take this type seal, no problem. Early ones, this is a 10,000 serial number, and it's not set up to take this. So if you try, I learned this the hard way. If you put that on the crank and then go to install this and it won't go, well, you're screwed. This has got to go to the machine shop. If you tried to press it in there to get it up next to the seal, this crank is tapered enough that most of this is going to sit out on the taper, and then it's just going to spin on the crank and damage your crank. Right now. So, I don't know. I think we're ready to come. Yep, there they go. Now, I really need some help to move this hoist, but I can get it. I get it. What do you think? There we go. There we are. We're out. Every journal on this thing is junk, absolute junk. I didn't want to see that, but then again, like I said, I guess if they hadn't junked it, ruined it, I wouldn't own it. But I think at least I've got a block. I've got a good block. It's never been decked. So, time to get the pistons out and move the crank out of here. So, I can tell you if you knock them back down the hole a little ways, they'll come right back out easy. See that? Now we'll squirt some liquid wrench on that, and I guarantee you it'll come out of there pretty good. I'm gonna get this one. Oh, that one's gonna come out easy. She don't want to come out. It's that last little bit. Okay, take one of these 3M grinding wheels, making ones that you just go in here and go round and around, that frees them right up. See, this one, been working the bearing in it. Probably no good. So the bearings are dated 73, 72, 71. So I am the official violator of this engine. Can you believe that? A 1693 that has never ever been opened up till now. Those are the original pistons, had the original bearings in it. You can still see the machine marks on the surfaces where the gaskets are. They didn't use any kind of adhesive back then. That's just absolutely amazing that a guy could find one of these that has never ever been opened up. That's just incredible. So this micrometer was sent to me by David Bird. Thank you for this, David. Bird, bird, bird. Bird is a word. I said the bird, bird, bird. Sorry, I can't resist. So anyway, David, I put this on there, and I haven't even checked the accuracy of this thing yet. So this cap on the end, you got to undo it, and then you can turn the end of that. So that main bearing should be reading 4.499, and it looks like I'm a 4.74. So I'm about 26 thousandths off. It's because I went over with my dial calipers and measured this, just the way it sits, and it measures exactly 4.499 right there, the way it is. So I may have to consult with Brian on how to adjust this, but it looks like a really good, accurate tool if it was adjusted correctly. I wonder how it got it so far out of adjustment. That's kind of odd to be that far out. Somebody may have taken the end of it off or something. I don't know. So I got the cat box full this morning, and the mailman will come over here and get this stuff I can't get in the cat box. I got a big one down here going to Leroy in Iowa. He needs a fan drive for 1693. So I'm giving him that. I don't need it. Glad to help out Leroy. any way I can. Got a box going to the UK. Got some going to my friends back at Caterpillar, back in Morton, Illinois. Got one going out to Jim's Vinny in Georgia, Randy Wangan in Wisconsin, and I'm not going to tell you that one because that looks like somebody's wife has bought him a gift, so I won't reveal that. Anyway, appreciate your support and for watching my channel and buying my stuff. Hey everybody, out in the shop working on the 1693. Hope you enjoyed that. Want to talk about some of my awesome subscribers, got a lot of them. Tim Clark, he's from Springfield, Oregon. Nathan Hines from Anderson, Texas. David Sprague from Sacramento, California. Dan Weber from Mesa, Arizona. Steve Warner from Mount Vernon, Illinois. Hey Steve, I really love your music. Glad you're watching Jay Paydirt. And Doug Sandercock, he's from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you'd like an old Kenny coloring book, there's a link in the pinned comment to the Amazon store to buy that. Calendars are in my store at www.jpaydirt.com, along with all the Anderson hats. Anyway, and the old Kenny hat, if you'd like an old Kenny hat. Anyway, go check it out, and thanks for supporting me.